What's up?
Just calling this order, right? Yep. I'll
Go
wait for Mr. Anderson. Good evening, all. Thank you very much for joining us. I'll call this meeting to order. And if you would please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you all being here this evening. Great to see all of our guests. At this time, we're going to move into an approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Perfect. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. We'll move to 1.04, introduction of the Elko County School District Student Board Member, Ruby Cortez. Mr. Jeff.
All right. First of all, I'd like to welcome Ruby out as our student board member. I've got a little bio here. It's pretty impressive. Ruby Cortez is a senior at Spring Creek High School with a 4.3 cumulative weighted GPA. She currently is a Spring Creek High School Student Council Vice President. At Spring Creek High School, Ruby is involved in the Student Council, the National Honor Society, Key Club, Family Career Community Leaders of America, Freshman Mentoring, Hope Squad, and Girls Soccer. I'm glad you found some time for us today. She holds officer positions in both FCCLA and NHS. Her future plans are to attend Great Basin College for basics and transfer to UNR to pursue a career in the medical field. Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ruby, and welcome. And please feel free to jump in anytime you feel so inclined. We'll now move to 1.05, where we have a presentation from Northside Elementary. And Mr. Anderson, do you want to introduce this, or are we going to just turn it right over to our guests?
I'm going to introduce Krista Chamberlain, Principal Extraordinaire, and I will let her take care of the rest of the introductions.
Thank you.
Welcome to back-to-back board meetings, Principal Chamberlain.
Yes, thank you. And we're just here to entertain you for a minute. So thank you. Good evening, board members, Ms. Gray, Mr. Anderson. Ms. Cortez. I am Krista Chamberlain, principal at Northside Elementary, and I'm excited to present our new Northside School song to you. So this project has been in the works for a couple of years, but recently our PTA got a hold of it, held a contest, and because we were actually looking for just the right words to go with the music. And so I wanted to just publicly thank the Brooks family for writing the words. And I also wanted to thank Miss Rebecca Tilley, our music teacher, for incorporating this into her music classes and teaching all of our students, because we are super excited. We love it. We hope you do too. And again, Megan, thank you so much. I have a little token of our appreciation for your participation in this. And we hope to be singing this for years to come at Northside. So without further ado, I know we invited our entire school, but we have just a few kids here to sing for you. So I'll have them come up and Miss Tilley take over from here. So.
Okay. Thanks for listening to this. We're really excited to present it to you. Our second verse was written by the Brooks family, and it includes not only Northside's 5 houses, but also our school motto. So that's really cool. And hey, we have a couple more. That's good. I'm just going to start the music and we'll get started. So come on over here by the mic, you guys.
Make sure everyone can use it too. Tiptoe. There's no place I'd rather be than Northside Elementary. Learning and knowing, Mustangs always growing victorious. We're on our way to conquer learning every day. Easy as 1, 2, 3. You'll understand when you look at me that I'm a Northside Mustangs. Northside strives for all to succeed, safe and respectful for you and me. Kindness always showing, ambition gets up and going. Perseverance is the best of me. Discovery, go and listen and see. Rather to us, thank you. 5 houses under this roof, one on north side, Mustangs.
Well done. Thank you very much. Thank you for entertaining us, and thank you for the time that it took to get that composed and the lyrics written. Very, very nice to be able to have a school song, and thanks for singing it. Any other comments from the board? All right, go
great
forth.
job.
Yeah, great job.
That was awesome.
Good job. Everybody was in key. You got hit your spots, had the claps. Everything was good. I loved it.
I wish my son could have been here, but he's at hockey practice right now. So it sounded awesome. When I get home, I'm going to make sure he knows that. I'm gonna have to sing it to me.
Well done again. Thank you all. We appreciate that. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to 1.06. This is our recognition of the Elko County School District Spelling Bee top finishers. Mr. Anderson, anything you'd like to put in here? Or do you want me to keep going through with our names as we have presented?
I think we have a friend here who's going to take care of the introductions.
Wonderful.
Back to follow though.
Let's get the claps in.
As long as I got that in. I am Candace Brown. I was the district spelling bee coordinator this year. Well, for the last 3 years, but this is, even though I caught the cold, I finally got to attend it. So we have our 4 winners. We took one from the top of each grade, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. And I have to say, they did awesome for all of these words that actually came up. So I have Andrew Garcia, 5th grade from Flagview. His word was shoal.
Shoal. SHOAL. Shoal.
Good job. And 6th from Flagview is Yulia Smith. She here?
And Andrew, come on up and just stand right next to Miss Brown, and we'll bring you all up here. We have a presentation for you as well.
You ready to spell this? Bunsen burner. I don't even think I could spell this one. No, you don't want to do it? You don't have to.
Once,
Yeah, did it once, it's done.
One and done. You're good.
7th grade, first place was Ariana Anderson from Adobe. That I thought it was Macedonia, but she got catnap. You spell it?
CATNAP.
Good job. And then my 8th grader is from Spring Creek Middle School, who is Sage Comer Cartwright. His word was injurious.
I can try to spell it. Injurious. INJURIOUS. Injurious.
So these are our top winners. They are going to go on to the Nevada State Spelling Bee, which is March 23rd at Bishop Gorman High School, with more information to follow. So thank you guys for participating. You guys did awesome.
Congratulations. I'd like to shake your hands, and we have something for you. So if you'll start over with Miss Ruby. Yes, you did do awesome. Thank you very much. We appreciate you being here this evening. Thank you for representing Elko County School District, and good luck when you go to Bishop Gorman High School. You're welcome to stay, though you're also welcome to depart if you'd like, and not have to go through more stress of listening to what we're going to be discussing. Thank you again. Great job. At this time, we'll go ahead and move into agenda item 1.07. This is the time devoted for public comment. This is a period devoted to comments by the general public, if any. In the interest of privacy and due process, the public is requested to not raise personnel issues except in a legally noticed closed personnel session of the board. Comments are limited to 3 consecutive minutes. The speaker's time may not be reserved, apportioned, or deferred or divided. No action may be taken upon a matter raised under this item of the agenda until the matter itself has been included specifically on an agenda as an item upon which action will be taken. Is there any public comment? I did receive one item that we will, I'll go ahead and bring up under a action item subsequent to now. Moving forward then, we will go into 2.01. This is receipt, review, and possible approval or disapproval of the cooperative agreement entered into by the superintendent, subject to board approval, for the sale of district real property. This is to adopt or disapprove the resolution of intent to sell school real property drafted and submitted by board legal counsel, which sets public meeting to receive objections to the sale, if any, made by the electors of the district, and which directs the publication of a notice of resolution for possible action. Mr. Anderson, do you want this one?
Boy, do I. All right, so a little bit of background. It's listed here, but just quick synopsis is they're going to be building a roundabout in Spring Creek. And in order to fully build it out, it requires a little bit of property that we own. And so the state is, there are various processes by which they can acquire the land. And this is the most desirable of the options, where they send out an assessor, they give fair market value for it, and we agree to sell it to them. And then there are more, there are less desirable ways to go about giving our land to them. So this is the result of that appraisal, and Stephen is back there. And he is able to answer some of the more nitty-gritty questions of the actual project and some of the legalities and that sort of thing as it pertains to the public works side of things. But that's the kind of the quick explanation of it. And it's been thoroughly vetted by one of our legal counsel who deals with most of our public works projects. And this is the exact process we're supposed to follow. So there it is. If you got any further questions, either Stephen or I can help you out.
Terrific. Thank you. Board comments, questions?
I don't have any questions. I will just say I'm totally in favor of this. So if no one else has any comments, I will go ahead and make a motion. I move that the board adopt the resolution of intent to sell school real property drafted and submitted by board legal counsel, which sets public meeting on March 5th, 2024, to receive objections to the sale, if any, made by the electors of the district, and which directs the publication of a notice of the resolution.
Second.
Perfectly. It's been probably moved and seconded. Any further discussion amongst the board?
I think it's a great idea because I think slowing down this will help slow down traffic a little bit right there and will help with kids coming out of the high school. I think it's going to improve safety and everything there. So.
Terrific. We like win-win-wins. Anything else from the board?
Just want to make sure everyone knows that we are just selling land that we don't have, right? We don't have any
anything in this other than to sell land. We're not part of this. We're not part of planning. We're not part of, just want to make sure that that's on record and then people understand that. So we're just selling the corner piece of our land to them.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Josh. And also just want to add that for the public's sake, there will be a formal public hearing. We don't generally do that on this board, but there will be a public hearing, a public meeting, sorry, on March 5th. Again, that's our normal side of things, but if anybody has really strenuous objections to that, we will have our public meeting and you can voice those concerns at that point in time. So with that said, it is on the table. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well, and motion passes. Thank you very much. 2.02 is receipt, review, and possible approval of proposed changes to policy BFA. This is the adoption and revision of policies. And I'm going to take this one because this is a request that I had made coming back from a simple change that we needed to look at, I believe, on the last 2 meetings. And so this change basically just allows the board president and the superintendent to put it up for a immediate action if it's deemed in the interest of the district, and it's if there's minor policy adoptions and revisions. So with that, any discussion?
Again, for clarification, we can pull that out of the consent agenda in the future, correct? So if you guys deem this to be consent agenda and I don't really want it there, I can just move to pull it out for discussion from there, correct?
Correct. Regardless of where it's placed on the agenda, it can also be tabled to allow for another meeting to take place on this. But yes, the intent would be that it would go into the consent agenda so that it would move along in a more expedient manner.
Basically what I'm saying is there's just stopgaps for it if we need it, as well as the ideas here is just to speed things along that need to be sped along.
Absolutely. The biggest issue this came from was our most recent policy change regarding the timing of bus safety evacuations. The policy was clearly incorrect in the dates, and this was something that took a month to get through. Well, I guess technically 3 weeks to get through when it could have been expedited fairly quickly to make sure that we're in compliance.
Yeah, and it also means everybody's time is valuable. And sometimes we recognize that there are policies where, a bill comes out and it says, like, for example, we had the sun protection, safe sun protection, whatever. I can't remember what it was called anymore. Sun safety policy.
Sounds official.
And other ones like that where we're basically verbatim. There is law that says we must have a policy in place, including the following, and something verbatim is put into policy to comply with legal requirements. And I mean, we could sit here and have conjecture and conversation over something that we absolutely are required by law to put into place, but it feels like an inefficient use of time. So in those cases, that might be another type of thing that wouldn't fall in this category. And so really all it requires is if one of you sees, you all do a very good job of looking through the agenda. So if you see something in there and you have questions about it, feel free to ask. And if we need to pull it out, we pull it out. And but just know that it's not going to go in there unless it's just like it says minor or minor adoption or revision. We won't do anything, and then we'll be honest about where it goes and put it where it needs to be if it's significant and requires your action.
Mr. President, I move to approve proposed changes to policy BFA, adoption and revision of policies.
Second.
Thank you very much. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. Motion passes. We'll now move to 2.03, receipt, review, and possible approval of proposed changes to policy JGG, student welfare, suicide prevention. This is the second reading. This is for possible action. And this takes some of our language and clarifies it, but also allows our staff and schools to be able to address issues as they come up under this subject in a little bit better way than what we have been able to do. So Mr. Anderson, I'll turn to you.
Yeah, so just as to recall from last meeting, this particular policy had no further input from the board. And so it is exactly as was viewed 2 weeks ago. And there were things that were mentioned about this, and I indicated they were addressed in JGH, which is our next item. And so I can talk about those there, but this exact one has nothing there. It's 100% the same as last time. So if you have any further questions, I can answer them.
I'd like to make a motion.
Say again.
I'll make a motion just to approve policy JGG Red 2 as it stands.
Perfect. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a few seconds there. Thank you very much. Any additional board comment? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well, and the motion passes. 2.04 is receipt, review, and possible approval of proposed new policy, JGH, student welfare, death of student or staff. This is for possible action. This is our second reading. And I'll let Mr. Anderson take this, and then this is the item that I have received some public comment on that I just want to share with the board.
Do you want me to go first though?
Please, yes, I apologize. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. So JGH is a kind of an accompanying policy to JGG. This one is not specifically about suicide. It is all death, and for both student and staff, and how we as a school district will respond and carry forward in the midst of those events. And so the first read did have several areas for input and feedback. So the one that is titled Red Line are those changes to last time, and I will just go over those real quick. Mr. President McCarty had asked a question about social media and how that would be addressed. And this is just to be perfectly honest, it's a tough one of how deep in the weeds do we want to get to it. We don't, in lots of ways, we're not like, the general plan is not to utilize social media to advertise death and what we're going to do about it. That's not the primary function of our district social media. However, we could foresee, just off the top of our heads, we just started to name a few times when it could be necessary. And so that is why we slightly adjusted that field under number 3 on page 2, where it says when deemed appropriate, oversee the use of district social media. So that got adjusted there as a response to your feedback. The topic probably of most conversation, which I really appreciated the insight in from the board, was on page 6 under 7B memorials. And we feel like we have language in here that kind of meets what we were talking about. And what we want to make clear is that a memorial or a tribute to someone who has provided service, years of service in the past to the school district, or is being acknowledged for a contribution, and who happens to also pass away 30 years later, is very different from someone died and we are creating a memorial in their honor. And so the language there hopefully sets that intention forth a little more clearly, that we're not prohibiting the use of anyone's name or likeness because they happen to no longer be alive on the planet. But we want to make sure that we're delineating sudden and tragic deaths from the natural course of life sort of thing. And that whether it's one or the other, that doesn't exclude the district from being able to recognize someone's years of service. The language in there does make it so that those things have to be carefully reviewed by the superintendent and by our central office employees to make sure it meets the spirit of the policy. And we would not plan on moving forward, getting rid of all existing tributes. This would be a starting now, keeping this as part of our response to to student and staff deaths. So that's, that is what we hope to accomplish in that section. I'll hear your feedback if you have more about it, but it was a very challenging thing to get the wording down exact. And like so many other things that we have in policy, you cannot delineate every single situation and have an answer for it. So we rely on the expertise of good people to carry out those policies. So that's the language that's there. And then if you go to page 7, the last area where we had some feedback on having recognition that while a certain day may be predictably difficult for someone, any day could be difficult for someone, and that those resources stand at the ready for people who are struggling always. Should they need that assistance, they only need to reach out, and we will make sure that there's always help available. Not exclusive to certain days of the year, but we're always there to support our students and our staff who may be struggling with the death of a loved one, however far removed they are from it. So that's what that language was added in there for, and appreciate that bit of feedback as well. So that is a quick, hopefully, explanation of the additional changes that were made to that policy, or revisions for this proposed policy, because it's not a policy yet.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. I appreciate that. So I was contacted by someone, and they do not have a written statement that they'd like read into the record, and they specifically said they would prefer that I not read the correspondence between themselves and myself. They represent a nonprofit, and they asked me directly to table this item. They said that they had some concerns about some of the language, mostly dealing with the tone, and the board is welcome to act as the board sees fit. I told them that as president, I didn't feel that we should table this item. We always have the ability to go back and review the item if need be. As we know in our daily lives, people do meet tragic ends. We can't time these type of things. I'd like to get this policy moving forward, and we can always adjust it as we did with JGG. And that's why I opted not to table this item, but I wanted to make sure that the board knew that I was contacted and that the request had been to table it. Also, I wanted to let the board know why I did not table that item. So with that, I'll leave it to the board for discussion, questions, and/or proposed action.
I have a question. Does the person that contacted you plan on making a comment at a future meeting about it, or contacting the rest of us about?
They certainly may contact you later. They just were not able to attend today. And the initial contact, I think, was about 4 or 5 hours ago. So it was late this afternoon. They just weren't able to put something together in writing. Their board had not had an opportunity to meet yet. And so because of that, they just didn't have something together. They had asked if we could table it so that the board could present back to, present their concerns, whether it's collectively or have each of them discuss. I wasn't quite certain, but they did that. That was part of that request, was so that they had time to be able to formulate a response back to, shouldn't say a response, comments back towards our board in regards to the content of this policy. Does that answer your question? I felt like I just ran in a circle. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I think, as always, anyone can show up to our meetings and share their thoughts, and we always welcome that. That being said, I do think this is an appropriate policy to move forward with. So therefore, I move to approve new policy JGH, student welfare, death of student or staff.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded a couple of times. Further discussion from the board.
I would just point out that this is the second reading. This was also on the agenda in our previous meeting. So the time for comment has come to a close, I believe. That's all.
I will add, and that we are always here to listen. We put JGG in, I think, 6 months ago,
Yes.
and we found cause to revise, and make it better. And by nature of something being a new policy, and especially one that's delicate and requires a lot of thought and sensitivity, should someone have comments down the road, then feel free to submit that to us. And this is not a once and forever hold your peace kind of situation. We're always seeking for ways to be better. But my recommendation would be not to postpone, because this is crucial guidance, and I'm not hoping for a need to utilize this policy. But should we find ourselves in a situation, we need these guiding documents to help us be consistent in how we do these actions.
I just want to add too, as well, is the policy was put together by subject matter experts in both this subject as well as in education, with the overlapping skills, I guess, if you will. Probably the problem.
Yeah, for transparency's sake, it was 3 or 4 district administrators who I consider to be experts in the education realm. Someone who is a significant member of a state entity who deals with mental health and suicide response, someone who is a school psychologist and is very trained in this area, and someone who is a very skilled social worker as well, who has a lot of skills in this area. So plenty of content experts. Thank you.
So just not us sitting up here making.
Correct.
Perfect.
I would just add too, my statement is not made to discourage. I invite any comment
Yes,
possible.
100%.
It's just, we've had a couple meetings to look at this, and I don't even consider that a comment, because there's not any substance to it. But I invite those people to come forward either privately or, in a public meeting. And if there's any concerns, please let us know. But it doesn't get in the way of me supporting this policy today.
Any additional comments? One other thing that I just wanted to throw in, I didn't want to try to sway the board one way or the other. When I suggested that it was a tone issue, I had let them know that my personal belief is policy should be objective, not subjective, because when it's subjective, we start getting into some other muddier waters. And when we start talking about a value of things, et cetera, what I feel may be different from what any of my fellow board members, or let alone any of our staff members within the district feel. And so I think the more objective we can be, even if that does come across as cold, this is a subject, as is the previous item, that we'd rather not be dealing with, but we do need to deal with this. And so it was not because I didn't care and I didn't feel that this was an important emotional subject, but I do again feel that objectivity is better than subjectivity. So with that, we'll go ahead and take a vote on the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. Motion passes. At this time, we'll now move to 2.05, receipt of the quarterly update report from Mr. Ray Smith in regards to our school improvement department. Before you clear that, you have to sing that.
I don't know that that's.
That's right. Where's
Give me a
the
little more
play?
warm-
Where's the
Next time, let me warm up the vocal cords maybe. Let's see, look at that. Look at this.
Got showed up by a 3rd grader.
Won't be the last time.
It's all around,
right.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you. With that, we'll get started. So I just wanted to provide a quick update to the board about a topic that we discussed. I think it was back in September in the meeting that was in Jackpot, I believe. The board approved a partnership with the Student Centered Institute for Educational Improvement, or SCIEI, regarding a learner-centered framework, which is represented by the diagram that's up here on this first slide. We won't talk about everything that's up there because I know that's a lot of information, but I just wanted to throw it up there. I think I presented something similar back then, and so just hoping that would maybe jog the board's memory on that meeting back in September. So just again, also as a quick reminder that this project, the work that goes along with it, aligns very closely with our strategic plan. It actually touches on several of those key outcomes that are listed up there, but most specifically the 2 that I have circled there, with system-wide, improving system-wide expectations in our first pillar, and then strengthening literacy and numeracy instruction in the second pillar. So again, just a quick reminder, tying back to our strategic plan. So since that meeting in September where you approved that partnership with us, we have worked to create a team of what we're terming implementation specialists, which consist of 72 total different individuals, math teachers representing the continuum of K-12 education here in Elko County. We have site administrators, and we have our district administrative team who are a part of that. And you know, what's really, I think, powerful about this process up to this point is that there's representation from every single one of our school sites. So we have teachers and administrators from every corner of the school district, and they're able to meet with us. And we've met every week for the last 12 weeks and had some really good conversations about the teaching and learning that's going on in our classrooms district-wide. And so that's been a really powerful process. And we've worked to increase the knowledge base for these folks of the learner-centered framework, all the things that we represent on that first slide. And then we've also, I'm really excited to announce that we're moving into what we're terming the construction phase, which is the creation of what's termed the central elements. And so they're represented here. That's a little simpler version of that diagram. But there's basically three main components. There's a curricular component, there's an assessment component, and then there's a tracking component, grading. And there's a little more detail there on the slide. I won't read through all that. I'll let you guys read that. But this is I think where we're really getting into the meat of this work. And just as a quick reminder, for this school year, we're focusing on math. And part of the reason for our decision there is that we wanted to coincide with the adoption of the new textbooks that we got, K-12. And you know, whenever you do that, teachers spend a lot of time evaluating those materials and looking at pacing, looking at how well those things meet our Nevada state standards. And they're doing that work anyway. So we're coinciding it together with this structured time where we can do that. And so our plan, I'm hopeful that by the next time my quarterly update rolls around, I'll have some of these central elements, some actual tangible documents that our teachers have created that I'll be able to share with the board for you to get a look at what that ends up looking like. And our intention is to work with these individuals at all our school sites, implementation specialists, to we're terming it kind of, you know, air quotes, a pilot program for the last quarter of this year for them to implement some of that. And then as we move forward into subsequent school years, we'll be expanding that to all of our math classrooms. And then if things go well, into all of our content areas. It's a long process, probably a 4 to 5 year plan before we get to that point. But we're excited about this opportunity to continue moving forward with this process. And I can say really, you know, from my standpoint, it's been really powerful to have an opportunity every week. We have a couple of hours to set aside all the other things that sometimes get in the way of being at schools. And we're just spending time talking about teaching and learning and how we are going to, you know, what we're currently doing, how we're going to improve on that, and how we're going to move forward. And so it's really been a good process, and I really appreciate the board's support and approval of this process. So that was a lot of words from me, but just wanted to provide you with that update and then see if you had any questions.
Thank you. Comments or questions for Mr. Smith? Quick question, student tracker, is that going to follow the student through multiple grades, or is that grade specific, instructor specific? Grade specific, yeah. Okay. I mean, it would change each time they go into a new course. Okay. Yep. Great. All right, Mr. Smith, thank you for your time. Thank you. All righty, at this time, we'll go into 3.01. This is the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second. It's been properly moved and seconded. As a reminder, anything in the consent agenda can be pulled out by action or by request from a board member and or a member of the public. With that said, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well, and the motion passes. While we're on this subject, one of the things that I have reached out to the board, not through any action, but just through a general email to give an idea of what my intent is as we move forward. And of course, this is up to the direction of the board and or will of the board, some of the, if not all of the second readings for policies, if we have the changes that we've requested put through on our staff side, then I would be putting consent agenda items, or sorry, policy into the consent agenda as well. And really, again, that goes back to being respectful of everyone's time. If we have 5 different new policies and all of them are the exact same and we have to approve and second each of them individually, this just allows us to move forward with the business of things a little bit easier. So I'm putting that out publicly. It's not for discussion and or action by the board, but just giving an indication of what my intent is as we continue to move forward and make some minor changes to the layout of the agenda. I've spoken enough. We'll turn it over to Mr. Anderson for Superintendent Matters, item 4.01.
Thank you. Just a couple things to report on. A couple days after our last board meeting, I indicated I'd be going to present to the Interim Finance Commission about SB 231. Okay, thanks. SB 2, there's a lot of 3-digit numbers rolling around in my head after SB or AB. So SB 231, which was the money set aside for teacher pay increases, provided that the district had already negotiated some of their own. Went up there, it was a good meeting. We presented 2 options because we were somewhat worried about how the previous meeting had gone with options that certain districts had laid before and had been told no about. And for whatever reason, it went great and they approved the option that the unions in the district agreed upon as the most desirable option. So that money will be received soon from the state and it will start to go into our staff's, our teachers and support staff's paychecks starting in March. And the way that works, just so you know, is we pay, then we tell the state how much we paid, and then they reimburse it back to us, and that's how that goes. So we will be, think whatever you want about the process, but that's how it works. And we'll start doing that pretty soon here. So, but anyway, it was a success. We were happy about that, and we can start helping our teachers and support staff out that way. And that's no additional cost to the district. I want to make sure that's clear.
So quick question on the reimbursement. Is it, how frequent is the reimbursement? Is this like, here's your annual reimbursement?
No,
or
I think
are we getting a regular?
Yeah, I think once
paycheck?
we pay it out and then we quickly tell the state this is what we paid, and they then from their account remit that back to us. So I think it's supposed to happen on a monthly basis as well. That way we're not left holding the bag for 6 months or something.
Thank you. Yeah, that's important.
Someone cynically commented, so they get to keep it in an insurance account, but we don't, or an interest account, and we don't. And I was like, well, yeah, maybe. I don't know if that was the motivation, but yes, that is how that process works. That's my understanding of it. We're just happy to be approved at this point because we've been talking about it for 4 or 5 months. I mean, if you go back to July, right? But we're really like working on it since about October. So good to have that approved. I was able to go to the annual superintendent conference this last weekend, and it was great. Thanks for supporting me and being able to do that. Had some good takeaways of things that we can do better on, and had some great takeaways of things we are ahead of the game on and doing a good job. And there's a lot of good things happening that other districts are impressed by and wanted to bend my ear about. And I think that's and then likewise, right? I hear things that I want to know about. That's the benefit of going to such a thing. So it's pretty beneficial. Probably the best professional development I get to go to every year. And so I really appreciate being able to do that. Let's see, just by way of note, tonight, like right now, webinar 3 from the Cook Center for Human Connection is happening. That ended up having to be scheduled on the same night as a board meeting. So it's happening right now. If you registered, you should be getting a link for it. The topic this time was your child's anxiety and how to help with that, recognizing that lots of kids have anxiety and adults do too. And, I'm sure the strategies are the same for how to work through that. So that is happening right now. And just as a reminder, all links, you can get them by registering. Registering ahead of time is the preferred thing to do. But should someone not be registered and you just, for family, friends, whatever, you want to refer someone to the webinars or any of our mental health resources we have available to us, just go to our website and then big bold lettering at the very top right of the page, there's a link for mental health resources and they're all there. And that's for students and staff and families and anyone. Like we're not holding on to that stuff like it's a secret. We want to make sure anyone who needs help gets the help that we can offer. So that's happening right now. Let's see. Which direction do I want to go next? All right. So quick update for you at some of the most recent county commission meetings regarding AB 519 and regarding the tax rate that they are required to levy for capital improvement purposes for our school district. There's been lots of conversation, but still no concrete action. And just want to make not only you, the board, aware, but anyone who's listening aware that at tomorrow's meeting at 1:30, there is an agenda item that has to do with that. And I think it's probably a good item, but it could stand to use some support from public or from board members. I'll be there. They have an item to consider whether or not they want to write a letter to the incorporated cities who, when we lost the 75 cents, that money went to several entities, not just the county commission, but to incorporated cities, to the TV district, to another one like a wildlife fire protection, I think, or something like that. So they are going to be talking about whether or not to write a letter to the incorporated cities to see if they would consider giving some or all of that, making that available back to the school district to have, and hopefully in addition to what they're planning on returning as well. But I think it would be good to support that, making sure that money is available back for us. So that's at 1:30 tomorrow, and encourage anyone to, encouraging anyone who can listen in to be informed and send in comment on your phone while you're at work. I know 1:30 isn't a super convenient time for most people to be somewhere to give input on a very important topic, but any way you're able to make that happen, that'd be great. On the same topic, despite the commission's appointed panel for oversight of our capital improvement, their panel for oversight of capital improvement projects for the school district, which Dr. Byers is one of those members of. Despite the fact that committee recommended unanimously to the county commission to redistribute 22 cents back to the school district for capital improvement funding purposes, they have not taken action on that. Rather, they have said that they feel they need community input on that specific topic. Okay. Hold on a second. So I'm just saving some words for later. So they have voted not to do, well, they haven't voted not to do it, but they also didn't move forward with it. They're taking their time and doing their due diligence. So the way they decided to gain community input was through two different methods. One of those is a survey. We found out about this survey not before, but on the day when a newspaper article went out indicating that there was such a survey. So that survey is out there. It's a very quick survey, 3 questions, I think, and shouldn't take more than about a minute, but it's basically a great way for someone to indicate whether or not they think our kids deserve satisfactory buildings. And so there is a They have options of tax rate, what people think the priority should be. They're seeking input from the public. And of note is that the bill requires them to levy a tax between 1 and 25 cents. The survey does not include an option of 25 cents on it. It includes an option up to 20 cents. So there isn't a none of the above option on there. So I'm not sure what the none of the above was mentioned or like what the purpose of that option is. But I would encourage anyone who thinks that there is anything in any of your buildings that could use some fixing or some upgrading or some renovating, which is all of our buildings, to make it clear to the county commission that we would like the maximum possible we can get. And so whether that is through public comments, whether that is through the survey or all of the above, or attending their meetings, I think it's important at this point that if there is a committee that they appointed telling them to do something or recommending that they do something and they're still not sure about it and they're saying it's the voice of the public they want to hear, then we need to make very sure that the voice of the public, if you care about the quality of our facilities and our schools, to let them know that we need all we can get. Because right now we are bleeding quite a bit as it relates to our capital improvement needs. Those needs keep piling up. And the longer they pile up and the less money we have to do anything about it, the longer they will continue to be a problem and become a massive issue. And we will have no means to take care of it. And I'm sure the finger will get pointed at us for not maintaining a facility. But the reality is if we don't have funds to maintain those, then what are we to do? So Stephen and his crew are doing an absolutely exceptional job with the $0 that are coming into us every year from this capital improvement source. And we'd love to have better than zero, but also a number that allows us to actually do something and not just pat ourselves on the back about having a penny coming in. So really need to make sure, but if people don't speak on behalf of it, then why would they think anyone cares? So we need to encourage all our friends and family to do so. To that end, we have sent out an email to all staff. We have sent out an email to all parents of our students. We have put a social media post out there with a link to the survey, and everybody, I strongly encourage everyone to speak how they feel through that survey, and make sure that is the first thing they do about that. The second thing, I'm sorry, I'm going on about this, but
Mr. Anderson, real quick.
Yeah.
So to that end, 1.20 cents being the max on that survey is less than what was recommended by the.
Yes, the bill allows for up to 25. The committee, the panel that you're part of, recommended 22 cents.
And the survey that was sent out was at 20.
20 was the highest
Just want to make sure that
specific number mentioned.
Make sure that that's known. Also, we weren't aware of the survey that was being sent out, and it wasn't necessarily sent out in any, I don't know how they came to those, but it wasn't like it was sent out to the community as a whole that we know of. We're sending out emails as a secondary is what I'm actually asking. So we received some of us received those in other hats that we have.
Yes.
And then you were made aware of it. And then we sent out emails because it is important to the district.
Correct.
Okay. It's not that we initiated a survey. It's that a survey was floated.
Yes.
We received it by third party, and now we're trying to do that. I just want to make sure that people understand that there's work being done at this level, at the district level, to try and get this done.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the email and the social media post we sent out said the Elko County has distributed a survey, and that intentionally did not say the Elko County School District. The county commission put together this survey, and
because it's important to us.
But it didn't go out widespread. It went out, well, I mean, in a newspaper article, but I know certain people, because of their, like you said, in other hats you wear, that did go to you. So we thought it was pretty important to make sure everybody got a hold of that survey if they could.
Just for the public, just so everybody knows, while it may have been standard previously in politics to put it in the newspaper, I usually don't read the newspaper. So unless someone third, so that's like not as a primary source, I will, but just for anybody listening.
Yeah, and what we did with that survey is no different than what we would do with any other information we want to get in the hands of all of our parents and employees. We just, emails and social media, we get it out any way we can. I'm also not, I clearly have an opinion about what we should do with that. But I 100% am being genuine when I say, if you don't speak whatever it is you believe should be relayed to the county commission. However you choose to vote is how you choose to vote. However you choose to opine on a topic is up to you. But I don't think we should just sit back and hope that the right decision gets made. We can hopefully influence that decision. So I'm asking everyone to flood that survey with your perspective on the topic, and then
Can I ask, before you
oh,
go on,
sure.
can I ask a question about the survey?
Yeah.
Have you had an opportunity to ask anyone on the commission why it only went to 20 cents? Or will you ask that tomorrow when you go?
I have not asked anyone that question. I know someone who asked that question, and they said there isn't 25 cents to give, which I don't understand because there is. However, yes.
I did ask that question. I'll be touching on that because I went to the Debt Management Commission meeting, talked to Commissioner Gerber a little bit, and his opinion that he stated to me was just that, well, we just want to get a feel for how people feel about it.
Okay.
And I did directly ask why there wasn't a 25 cents, and it was we just want to see how people feel. So that's kind of where that was at.
Yep. So Matt, did you want to?
I was just going to say, and I visited with Commissioner Andriozzi. He indicated that this was not an action by the board, that this came out of the county manager's office. And he said, I don't know why all the options weren't there. It may have just been to, as Commissioner Gerber apparently said, get a general feel for what it was.
Yeah.
And I'll also talk on this a little bit more under my time.
Okay, so that's one way we can make our voice heard about the topic. And then while I didn't see this occur when those funds that we lost were distributed to other entities, well, this exact same process did not happen then, it's happening now. I'm not sure why the difference of approach. I could theorize, but I'm not going to.
I would compare it to a child who lost their Halloween candy and a bunch of other children found it.
Okay. Well, in addition to a survey, instead of making a decision, there is a commission public hearing, which is going to take place on March 6th at 3:30. And I'm guessing the 3:30 time is probably not hard and fast because they also have a county commission meeting that same day at 1:30. So I'm guessing that's an anticipated as soon as the commission meeting is over, there will be this public hearing. And the whole purpose of the public hearing is to listen to feedback about this same exact topic. So just as I think we should flood inboxes and survey responses, I think as many people as are available and again, care about the state of our schools should consider being there physically present to, and that's a call out to our teachers and staff. I know some schools don't get finished until about that time, but we will figure out a way to encourage them to go if they can. All of our parents of kids, if you have a kid in a portable trailer for a classroom and you want to have them out there out of that, or you see the dilapidated state of some of your facilities, please be there, send in public comment, get on virtually. We need to make it very clear that our kids deserve the most we can give them, and right now we're giving them nothing, and that's not acceptable in my mind. So I would encourage
Before you move
everyone
on too much
6th.
further on that one.
Say that again?
On March 6th, and once they agendize it, when it's a public hearing, they will stop all regular business and
Okay.
go to that. So
All right.
it won't be an approximate 3:30 when they agendize it. If it's agendized at 3:30, they stop all other business and go to that item. The meeting tomorrow, where item agenda, I shouldn't say we, AB 519 is agenda item M as in Mary. So it's 13 items down. It won't most likely happen right at 1:30. So be aware of that. Finally, if you are going to join in on either of those meetings remotely and you want to speak, you do need to make the commission, the county manager's office and or the clerk for the board aware of that so that they have the ability to turn on your speaker. Otherwise you don't, or microphone, you don't otherwise have the ability to join in to provide comment unless you specifically say, I'd like to provide comment. So make sure that you do that if you are joining remotely.
Thank you. We'll continue to, between now and March 6th, rest assured, we will continue to advertise and make sure people are aware. We want our voices heard. And then I will close with some positives and just another, I'm going to be selfish and congratulate our spelling bee winners again. I'm particularly partial to one of the four, but certainly I'm excited for all of the four. And just by fun way of note, so my daughter Ariana is in 7th grade. She was one of the winners. And then Sage from Spring Creek Middle School, he's the 8th grade winner. 2 years ago when they were in 5th and 6th grade, the two of them went to the state spelling bee and got the farthest that any of our kids in the district went. And when they were 5th and 6th graders, so it's fun that they get to go again as 7th and 8th graders. And I'm excited for all four of them to be there and represent our district. So that's great. And then we will do this at the next board meeting. We will do recognitions of winter sports, but I don't want to, I just feel like it's appropriate to congratulate the Elko High School wrestling team on not only winning state, but basically winning it so early in the go with points that everyone knew it was over when there was still a ton of wrestling to happen. Like they won by so many points. So our Elko High School wrestling team did a phenomenal job in taking state. So congrats to them. And then I'm guessing we certainly have other individual wrestlers from other schools that achieved as well. So congrats to them. And then our winter sports season is going to wrap up this week. Congratulations to the Elko High School boys basketball team, the Owyhee boys basketball team, and the West Wendover High School boys basketball team for making it to state. All three of them will be there. Elko High starts playing on Wednesday at a really weird, like 2 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon. And then Wendover and Owyhee both start on Thursday. And I think, 10:40 in the morning on Thursday. And those games will go all the way through Saturday. Elko High would be done if they win their first game, they'd be done by Thursday. Wendover could be done by Friday if they go all the way. And then Owyhee, I think, could take all the way till Saturday because they have a bigger bracket in the 1A. So anyway, we're going to have 3 teams going. Cheer them on. Congrats to those teams for, making it out of the region and getting to state. And we look forward to seeing how they do at state this week. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Any comments or questions back for our superintendent?
I should ask the Pearson document.
Yes. So under the Superintendent Matters Superintendent's report, there's a document titled Pearson. This is a testing platform we use for our special education students, and there are multiple forms of testing that we utilize this for. We have a sole source agreement with Pearson because they are the only provider of its type for these specific tests. And so because of the way that this is funded, it doesn't require your approval. However, it does require your, by way of information, that we have re-upped again. And so this is something that is absolutely essential for us to be able to process our evaluations and our testing for our special education students. And it's an FYI that we're still doing it.
Thank you, sir. Anything else for Mr. Anderson? I do stand corrected. I was reading back through the agenda for Elko County Commission, and it appears that you could raise your hand on Zoom, and that may allow the clerk to be able to give you the opportunity to speak in public. So it's not an always shut off. There is apparently a method. It still may be a good idea to contact the clerk in advance to let them know that you do have public comment if you're joining remotely. With that, We'll move on to item 5.01, items from board members. And we'll let whoever wants to go first.
I'll jump in just to echo on some of the boys basketball. West Wendover was the host of divisionals this last weekend. We had about approximately 10 schools in, and I just wanted to I was able to attend a few of those games, and just want to give a shout out to the West Wendover staff and administration. They did a great job with that. There was a lot of people in town. We put on a good show for them, so it was really nice to see that. And then moving forward, as my debt management commission duties came up with the first meeting of the year, it was rather benign. In fact, it was just myself and Mayor Keener that showed up at first. The two of us were able to get on our phones and wrangle up a quorum, at least so that we could complete the meeting, which included the organization of the board. We stayed with Sharon Byram as the chair and Commissioner Gerber as the vice chair. And then we talked about the big meeting coming up in August and tentatively scheduled that for August 22nd, which is a Thursday. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other board comments?
Let me go. So I have two. One, I wanted to commend, so I too was at basketball games this last weekend. I want to commend the administrative staff at EHS. Rivalry games get heated. And so with that, there can be emotions one side versus the other. And there was, I hate to say incident because then someone thinks there's a huge report, but there was a thing that happened after one of the games. And a lot of people just let it go, and I did not want to let this one go. And so when I had reported it to staff very feverishly, they took action on it, and they were able to find a solution where this individual was able to observe their children at the game, and they were very respectful, and it was turned around. So rather than, so I just wanted to commend them and let them know that I do appreciate them taking the time and effort to look into this so that we can all enjoy these sports that our student athletes have. So I wanted to make sure that was said. The other thing is the AB 519. I'm trying to be really nice in here, and we as organizations need to work together for Elko County, and that's what continues to be told to me. We need to work together for Elko County, and it's getting really difficult. It's getting really difficult to not take it personally when, in good faith, we talk to other organizations. And if you don't have to be a detective to understand, we're talking about the county commissioners right now. They have to do their due diligence. Totally understand that. But the way the game is being played right now is not. It doesn't seem like it's in good faith both ways. Okay. And if that's different, you can contact me. I have an email. It hasn't changed since I've been on this board. Okay. And then we can exchange phone numbers and we have that conversation. But what we need to do is we need to sit down, and this needs to happen because we are going to run out of funds here. Okay. We didn't create this mess. Matter of fact, this mess was created when the board was at its weakest point in the last, I can't tell you how many years. Okay. And so it has to be cleaned up. And so what I'm saying is that this literally all falls into the county commissioner's hands, because at the end of the day, AB 519, that's who it put to. But at the end of the day, that's who's going to take the blame for when we do not have those funds. I realize they have their obligations that they've made and promises they've made with their organization, but they're going to have to figure out a way in order to the other obligations that have been put forth, because this isn't a mess that we've created here on this board. This is a mess that's been created over the last couple of years. Okay. And I'm just going to stop there before I start saying some other things I don't want to publicly. Okay. But the big thing is it's for the community. It's for the children. Okay. When everybody voted no against the bond, they voted not to have this funds. And when I was talking to everybody at that point, I said, you realize this is going to take years to fix because we don't have the funds. Okay. Because of the way that it's set up. And whatever the previous board did is whatever the previous board did. Okay. Because I can argue just as much that what the previous board did was fantastic because those programs are thriving in this community. Okay. So that's what I'm going to say. I'm just going to end there because I think I'm going to get a little bit more heated. Okay.
Thank you, Josh. Additional board comments? All right, I'm going to jump in on the AB 519 bandwagon as well. not on behalf of the board, but as board president, I have sent out emails to a number of businesses and organizations specifically requesting that they forward their information on to their employees and or members as was appropriate. I did make that appeal as president of the school board. I basically just copied the link, put it to the bottom, and then I added some context up above. And I specifically requested that if the 25 cents is what you wanted, and or if the amount that you wanted was not represented in the agenda or in the survey, to specifically vote none of the above. Because I think that's important that the county commissions see that, and that those options that are available aren't there. I appreciate that the county commission is reaching out to the other cities. I also appreciate that the Elko TV district received some of that. I've not yet visited with anyone on the TV district, but I do plan on reaching out to them as well as board president, not on behalf of the board by any means, but just letting the board know that I will be visiting with them as well. Because as Josh said, and as we have heard repeatedly from the county, it does take, a group effort on this, and we do need to try to work collectively instead of against each other. This is for the good of our community and for the good of our schools. So I believe that we can find a solution to this. We just need to continue to work in a positive manner towards this. So provided we are treated with the respect that I believe that we are due, I think we can continue to move forward on this. With that, we'll now move into 5.02. This is superintendent evaluation discussion. I requested that this be put onto the agenda. This is a non-action item. And basically this is just a discussion or an opportunity for us as a board to discuss how we should handle the superintendent's evaluation. My request would be that we have this evaluation resolved, or have a plan for how we're going to do the evaluation so that we can conduct the evaluation in March. His contract is up very soon, within a matter of months, and I believe it is prudent for us to have a discussion on what his performance has been to date, so that we have an idea as to what direction we're going to go with negotiations as a board. And so that out of respect for him, he has an idea also of what he needs to work on and or plan for himself and his family. So I'm throwing all of that out there just so that we can talk. This is non-action. It's just to get a general idea. And part of what my responsibilities would be to work through that evaluation process. Just to start the conversation, I think that when we move forward, we all have valuable comments. However, as we've said a couple of times tonight, in the interest of everyone's time, I think it may be best if we collate the scores, put them together, and then present one score rather than go through each individual item and have each of us put a score down and or discuss the scores that we have. One, I think that calls out individually different things, different members, and pulls a little bit more attention. I think it's also a little bit messier. That doesn't mean that messy is bad, but I think that it does give an indication that perhaps we're not as united as we should be. This is not to say that if there are outliers that we shouldn't address that it should be overlooked. If we do have the there's a term I'm looking and it's gone, but anyways, I want to make sure that we all have a voice, but I think we present it collectively, whether that's presented back to me, if that's what our will is, or perhaps present it back to Cassie for compilation, whatever the board would like. But I just wanted to throw that out, that's what I was looking for. And the term I was looking for, I guess, was the minority report. If there's, somebody that is that outlier, I think it's important that we see that, whether it's positive or not so positive, give some more corrective action. But enough of me. Board, what are your thoughts?
So we already have our evaluation tool ready to go, correct?
For the most part, yes. I believe the evaluation tool is ready to go. We've already given Mr. Anderson what our expectations were and what we were going to be evaluating on. It's now a matter of process of how do we want to move forward with that tool.
And are we looking then at the first or second meeting in March? Because that's either the next or either the 5th or the 19th.
My anticipation was to give Mr. Anderson the ability to do a self-evaluation, at which time he could present at the 5th of March. He will not be present, if I understand correctly, his travel schedule, unless something has changed. He will not be present the 19th of March. Not because of that, but just because of timing. My intention would be that as a board, we present the evaluation on the 19th. He will be potentially available remotely. He just won't be in this room physically. Does that answer your question? Because again, I felt like I just talked in a circle.
No, that's
Okay,
perfect.
good.
And last, what is the actual deadline on or when does the contract expire?
Contract expires June 30 of 2024. And we need to be able to know, well, I shouldn't say we need to be able to know, but we'll have to enter into contract negotiations prior to that, or we risk having no superintendent and then by necessity having an interim superintendent.
So what I'm gathering is that you're suggesting that we do the self-evaluation on the 5th, and then on the meeting for the 19th, we come in with our evaluations complete, and those are presented as an aggregate score rather than each of us going through and being polled through the meeting to do it.
That would be my suggestion, which would mean that we would need to get them into either Cassie or the board could get them into myself prior to the 19th, the evening of the 19th. I'm sure we can probably work pretty quickly and get them in if they're in by noon on the 19th, if we are going to go with an aggregate. But again, that's up to the board.
I think that's a far better way to do that, because we're evaluating him as a board, not as individual people.
Yeah, I'm all right with that.
Yeah, I have no objection.
I mean, if someone has a comment, I guess, but if the board wants to do that, if they've got something they really need to put involved in there, I can see that. But as far as, yeah.
I'd even support a format where we do that as an aggregate, but then we each have the opportunity, like we wouldn't anyway, but make it a formal, everybody makes a comment on the score and whether they agree or disagree and so on, or where they're headed on that. But I think that's a good idea.
But those can all be compiled together.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think as long as there are no legal issues with that, that's fantastic. I think Nevada is one of the few states where they sit and evaluate their superintendent in a public meeting. A lot of other states, they've said, I've talked to superintendents in other states that have said, I would never work in Nevada for that reason. Because, you just get to sit in this public meeting and have everybody just, throw everything at you. And so I think if that's possible to do an aggregate score, I think that would be fantastic.
From my understanding, and I've not asked the direct question, though I have reached out to legal to say this is what I'd like to do. And he saw no problems with us having this discussion. I'm sure knowing that we were having this discussion, if we weren't able to do an aggregate, that he would probably have reached out because he's a very intelligent man and said, hey, I see, I'm reading between the lines here and you can't do that. My understanding is also that other districts in the county, in the state do something similar to this. So currently there is no legal restriction from that, from my understanding, but I will specifically make that request that legal review that. And yes, I would also agree that from a comment standpoint, none of this would be intended to silence anyone. Comments would always be able to be compiled, and then individual board members would be able to jump in as they saw appropriate as well. Another thought that I have, and again, I'll talk with legal on this, is depending on how quickly we get the responses back, the intent would be to share them back with the board so that there's not a surprise of, whoa, wait a minute, how could that possibly be when I voted this? So the intent would also be to distribute that back in such a manner so that we're not opening discussion or anything else. I do see this as an informational item when we're passing it back and forth, because there won't be any action once we've individually compiled the scores. So the action will take place once we get the agenda so agendized, or the items so agendized.
Then I would recommend you not having a deadline of noon on the 19th.
And I,
Because that cuts it close, and with Jeff traveling or whatever, I just don't think that's really cutting it too close for me, but.
I think if we're doing the self-evaluation on the 5th, that's going to be, I do relate to that when I make my evaluation. So I think if we distribute that material on the 5th, that we'll have plenty of time to get that in.
so then just for laughs and gaffs, we could have it back to somebody by Friday, the 16th. Well, let's do this. Let's do Thursday evening, the 15th. That gives Friday to compile and send out for the weekend for the board to be able to review.
Then that would need to be you because they're on a 4-day week.
They are on a 4-day week. We could move that up a day if need be.
I mean,
I would rather have you compile it if that's
it-
possible, but it doesn't really matter to me.
I think if everyone's cool with it, I mean, if we just ask you to have that stuff back in by the time we post the agenda, that gives you like 8 or 9 days, because we post agendas on Thursdays for a Tuesday meeting. So from like a Tuesday to the next Thursday is more than a week following my self-evaluation. I think that would be best for Cassie, for y'all to review over the weekend, then no one's trying to compile numbers last minute. That would be my suggestion. If you as a board think 9 days is sufficient for you to review my self-evaluation and get your own ratings in, then that's probably the best way to do it, to have that when the agenda posts.
And we're talking, go ahead.
Go ahead. As I say, I would recommend by noon on the 13th, Wednesday, the 13th, because the agenda is posted Friday morning by 9 a.m. or Thursday morning by 9 a.m. That would give us a little time instead of, 8 o'clock on Thursday morning. This is trying to be looked at when other things need to be happening with the agenda and getting it ready to post. So that's my recommendation. And perhaps we send it to Cassie. She can compile it and work, send it to Matt, or however, either of those are fine. But let's set a deadline for noon on the 13th. That's a recommendation.
We can do this as a Google Doc, right? Like that's what we're working on. Isn't it a Google Doc or is it?
The form
product?
itself was in a Google Doc, but it would be put in such a manner so that each individual result would not be tracked on a single Google Doc, because otherwise then we're theoretically collaborating electronically because we're seeing what each of us is
I get you.
scoring.
I get you. But yeah, you can just, but you can copy it in a file and send everyone out their own file, and then
That would be the intent.
that
And
way you
then-
don't necessarily have to email a form back and forth.
And there's a way to be able to merge those afterwards.
Okay.
The intent also is not to put more work on Cassie. I just didn't know how independent the board wanted to be. So I'm happy to collate them. We can send them also to Josh as clerk, but we can also send them to Cassie to keep it completely siloed away from the board, depending on what the board wants. Again, I think that's a good suggestion for Thursday at noon. That would be Thursday, the 13th.
Wednesday.
Or sorry, Wednesday. I said the right date, just the wrong day.
The 13th, yeah, Wednesday, the 13th of March, 2024.
Perfect. Great.
That is not a motion, since this is a non-action item.
Yep. Just
Just a
suggestions.
suggestion.
And I appreciate the input from the board on the process.
So I'm just so I'm clear, we will submit our responses to that and any comments that we have. It'll all be compiled together, and then we'll be able to, after that's done, we'll be able to see each other's scores and comments.
That would be the intent, yes, that it would be part of the administrative content.
Right.
For the board, it would probably be under item 5.02, board matters, superintendent's
What's presented
evaluation.
at the meeting would be the compiled scores.
Correct. And it would be part of the agenda going out. Again, I'll visit with legal as to what needs to be public facing versus what needs to stay as an administrative facing and what we have access to. So. Great. I appreciate the assistance. Anything else on this matter? Perfect. All righty then. We will move on to 6.01, which is the approval of the accounts payable. This is an action item.
Move to approve the accounts payable.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any disclosures for the record?
Not today.
I will disclose that I have a family member who works for Wells Rural Electric, but I will not be abstaining.
And ditto what Teresa said, I will disclose that I have a family member that works for Wells Rural Electric, but will also not be abstaining.
Terrific. Further board comment?
I have a question about the insurance advance. I thought we weren't going to do that. I thought Julie had told us we weren't going to do that. So if you could, maybe I misunderstood it.
I'll be perfectly honest. I'm not sure exactly what Julie was doing before. I know in a closed session when we discussed ending fund balance that the changing of how insurance was being worked, that would help us remain in a state of non-corrective action. My understanding is at this point, we are, I would not say that we are not advancing any, but that we are not advancing what to the extent that it was before. And then just on that same topic, we have a very soon upcoming meeting with our negotiation units to find a more permanent solution to that problem that we've been covering for so long. So it's coming soon, as promised.
Thank you. Any other board comments? All righty, motion on the table. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I vote aye as well, and the motion passes. We'll now move into 7.01, input from the public with the previous admonition already read. Is there any public comment? See if that green button's on, if you don't mind, Ms. Hoffman. Or the green light, not the green button. All righty. There we are.
Now it's on. So I don't know how many of you have actually listened or gone to the county commission meetings. As you probably all know, we've gone to many, and I've listened to many at home. They're really pretty good when you try to do it from home, but there are a few kind of interesting things about it. There are two ways that you can get on. You can get on Granicus. Granicus, you watch the video. You can get on Zoom, and Zoom is the one that you can comment on. You can also, that when the agenda comes out, you can do e-comments. And the e-comments you just do right there online on their site. And they go with the different agenda items. An interesting thing about the March 6th meeting, there is apparently going to be an agenda item trying to get the county commission to agree to all paper ballots. And they are planning on having many, many, many people at that meeting. So I know I heard we need to have many people for the 3:30 public hearing, but it could be a very interesting day there because of the paper ballot, the people that are trying to get everybody to come out for paper ballots. So I think there's probably an unlimited number of e-comments that can be made online. And that might be a really good way to get a lot of comments, especially from people who can't be at that public hearing. Another thing, if you're going to watch it at home with Granicus, you have to refresh the website before you can get on the live meeting. Like I said, there are a lot of good things, but maybe tomorrow, if you have a few minutes, if you don't think you can come to the meeting on the 6th, maybe tomorrow's just play with that a little bit because it's taken a little while for it to work for us. Thanks. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Ms. Hoffman. And I believe the e-comments close 4 hours before the beginning of the meeting. So if you are
Correct.
going to do that, typically that would mean that you would need to shut up or submit your comments prior to 9:30 a.m.
Oh, and then tomorrow, that action item is at almost the very end of the agenda. So typically, I mean, that might be as maybe as early as 2:30-ish. It might be later than that.
Thank you very much. Any additional public comment? All right. Seeing none, we will go ahead and stand in adjournment and we'll see everybody in approximately 2 weeks on 9th. No, let's see, 3/5 on the 5th of March. Have a good one all. Safe travels home for those that are traveling.